Indian news space at least, which is the arrival of the much awaited fighter jets called Rafale. I have two extremely knowledgeable people with me, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, and many of you might be already familiar with him because he's been with us throughout the simmering tensions with China, and he has talked a lot about the past, present, and future of India and China relationship. Ambassador Prakash, thank you very much for joining us yet again on this momentous day.
It's a pleasure always to join you, Nishta.
And I also have Air Marshal M. Matheshwaran. And not a lot of you may know, but Air Marshal Matheshwaran played a key role in getting the Rafale fighter jets to India, which are going to be inducted in the Indian Air Force today at Ambala. I extend a very warm welcome to you, Air Marshal Matheshwaran. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nishta. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, that's right.
Without much ado, Air Marshal Matheshwaran, I want to talk to you about, let me begin by first congratulating you, something that you pioneered many years ago has actually got delivered today, and the whole country is pretty excited about it. How do you feel about today's delivery?
Well, yes, certainly, like I mentioned earlier, it's a long, process that finally has come to fruition with the aircraft arriving today. They should have landed by now, I suppose. And
2:30 is what the 2:30 is the time that we are getting.
Okay, right. And it also speaks something about an area which the government and all of us need to actually address, which is some of our valuable procurements always tend to get drawn out for over a long period, and that has a implication on the operational capability, operational gaps, and operational performance of the military services concerned. So that's one area. But nevertheless, we started this process in late 1990s, actually. And the intention that time was, that the Mirage 2000, we are already flying. We are very familiar with that aircraft. And there was a requirement for, at that time, they estimated that the requirement was 126 aircraft. And let's go through, with the French as a follow-on process and order those 126, establishing a complete production line. They were also about to wind up the Mirage 2000 production line and shift to the Rafale production. And therefore, a lot of things were actually, falling in place. They went and discussed with the HAL extensively. Almost everything was prepared. And then in 2003, 2004, when the proposal was put up, Jaswant Singh was the defense minister. And I think he very rightly, there were already some concerns because why are we looking at an aircraft that's already, from a design stage is already 40 years old. And therefore they said, why aren't we looking at a few, the aircraft that you get, like the Rafale now will serve for at least 40 to 50 years with us. And that's the way we should be looking at. And the second point is that such a huge procurement cannot be just, straight away into one industry. So he said, let it be a global procurement process. That's the decision he gave. Then we looked at from MRCA, it became MMRCA because we were looking at, the aircraft like Eurofighter, we are looking at aircraft like F-18, we're looking at Rafale, and of course the Russians pitched in as well, the Gripen came in, and the whole process started. So ideally, we should have inducted by 2010-11 if the process was efficient and gone through. But for a variety of reasons, we all know what all happened. It's 2020. Anyway, it's never late. It's the right time to get it as quickly as possible.
Right, better late than never. That's all one can say here. Even though this delay has been almost a decade.
Yes.
Ambassador Prakash, diplomatic issues here, or something else that we want to blame at the moment? Why did it come so late?
Well, I think that Air Marshal Matheswaran has covered it very well. You know, we have a twin challenge. One, our dependence on imported platforms are so high that, you know, we have to imagine that when China is at our border, our defense minister had to rush to Moscow to make sure that we get spares in time, etc., etc. And now the Prime Minister has taken a huge initiative by allowing 74% FDI in the defense sector, and we hope we can correct that. But this challenge is huge. So one is our import dependence, and second is our procedural delays. I mean, as he mentioned, the discussion started in the year 2000. And I believe I'll be happy to be corrected. According to my figures, we have an authorized strength of 42 squadrons,
That's right.
whereas actually we have 32 or 34. So can we afford this kind of a gap in preparedness when we have India is located in such a difficult geography? That is the second question. Third, I think that we are still fortunate that we managed to renegotiate a deal, and 5 of the Rafales are landing. The others are on their way. I was in South Korea when we were talking, and before that we were talking of getting minesweepers from South Korea. 15 years we went back and forth, and even today we do not have minesweepers in the country. I mean, there are multiple examples of a huge gap between the security needs and what we have. So long and short is that, you know, we will continue to get Saint Anthony's, who had, as they said, brought to a standstill all procurement needed by the armed forces. But we have to get systems in place. Indian national security is too big to be left to procedural delays. I think it's a very serious challenge.
Right. I'm so glad that you actually mentioned the figure of 42 squadrons. Now, I want to ask a slightly provocative question, Air Marshal Matheswaran.
Yes.
Isn't Air Force being a little rigid about the strength and numbers rather than relooking at the new science and the new sort of battle scenarios? And where numbers may not tell you the whole story, but it is your capabilities in fields that are beyond numbers.
Absolutely. You're right. But the way technology has evolved and the way warfare is changing, you know, cyber warfare and, you know, net-centric capabilities and precision weapons and the involvement and integration of space services and space capabilities. Oh, the whole game has changed completely, right? But at the center of all this is the dominant approach to dealing with crises and threats is not to be reactive, but to be well prepared and create a deterrent capability. That means the adversary gets the message that this guy means business and he's going to attack or hit us very hard where it hurts us most. And therefore he doesn't venture out into, you know, salami slicing and capturing territories, etc. Okay, so for that you need, having said that, numbers are critical as well. The correct thing is to balance, because technology is very expensive. And we are looking now into the future in terms of bringing in artificial intelligence, we are bringing in net-centric capabilities, and therefore they all address numbers to some extent. You don't need huge numbers, but an optimal numbers, you cannot get away from that fact. However, very advanced the platforms are. So let me give a little bit of history. Post 1962, the Tata Committee was set up. And the Tata Committee, it's a very enlightening, you know, report that one must read. I'm sure the ambassador probably would be aware of it. It recommended a 65 squadron Air Force. And given our financial and resources at that point of time, the government accepted the 65 squadron Air Force in principle, but it said when we mobilize resources and when we can afford it, we'll keep increasing. So let's start with 39.5. So the sanctioning of 39.5 at that point of time was all about resource constraints. And finally, we stuck to 39.5 as the sacrosanct figure. And subsequently, only in the 2000s plus, we inched up to 42. Okay, the real requirement is to have an optimal force structure, which plays the kind of role that meets your national security effectively. And times keep changing. So in 62, we were only worried about defending ourselves against Pakistan and China. In the 2020s plus, we are aspiring to be a great power that plays a very effective role in the international system. And therefore, as a great power, not only do you have to tackle China effectively and deter China, but you also have to deal with China in the rest of the world, pretty much first in the entire Asian zone, Asian Pacific zone, and in the entire world as well. And therefore, military power is important. So I would say 42 is just about sufficient, not even, I would say, good a number that I would fix on. If anything, I would say a deterrent posture also involves something called, we need to look at advanced bomber capability. We need to look at effective missiles. We need to look at good electronic capabilities that integrate systems and gives you the kind of surveillance and ISR capabilities that addresses your intelligence and earlier preparedness very well, extremely well. So it's quite a complex area. And
Right.
but what we've done is we've always been doing it piecemeal. And therefore, as Ambassador pointed out, we've remained constantly, we had a crisis now, we now run and place 38,500 crores worth of orders. We haven't followed a long-term strategy. And these are lessons, and the Ambassador will be very aware of it. These are lessons that we can actually learn from China, better than anybody else, and from South Korea. They all handle this problem extremely well. And this is where I think we've not done well. And the blame, it's not, the solution is not to blame the government or anybody. The government needs good advice. I would also put a lot of blame on the industry leaders as well.
Right, right. I will come back to this this issue of industry leaders actually jeopardizing the acquisitions and whatever manufacturing capabilities that we ought to have within the country. But first, Ambassador Prakash, I want to ask you whether you feel something similar is happening to our diplomatic outreaches, the piecemeal approach, that only when a crisis hits us that we tend to react to it by making diplomatic outreaches rather than developing stable and consistent relationships with our present or potential strategic partners.
Sorry, the line is not good. I missed a couple of key words. Happening to whom?
No, something like this. The piecemeal approach that Air Marshal Matheswaran talked about. Is it happening in diplomatic field as well? That only when a crisis hits us, that we think of making outreaches to our present or potential strategic partners.
Well, now that we are talking tough, I will rise valiant to defend our track record, even though I'm no longer in the saddle. But no, on a more serious note, I think while we are not perfect and there's a lot of scope for improvement, and also the fact is, Nishtha, that we are the smallest major foreign service in the world. I have, after serving 36 years, I have wondered always, how do we manage to do what we do? But that's not no excuse. Foreign policy is evolving. The geostrategic relationships are evolving, and not evolving, they are at crossroads at the moment. The global order is changing. It has been jolted. And so deft-footedness is the order of the day. I mean, I'm completely with you there. But look at how India's position has evolved. There has been consistency in that relationships with, for example, Russia, although the relationship is no longer what it was, say, 30 years ago. relationships with countries like Russia and other traditional allies, friends, partners continues. But look at how the relationships have been transformed with other key players. France itself, when we went nuclear in '98 and the entire world got after us, France was the first country with which we started a strategic dialogue. Look at how relations with Israel, with USA, uh, with Japan, for example, have evolved. And then the Gulf region. In the last 6 years, Prime Minister's own efforts to cultivate the countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE and have borne fruit. And also the important thing is what we see now, the Indo-Pacific construct that is being spoken of. There are different outlooks, but I can do no better than cite the example, and I have been quite impressed by the Australian behavior in the last few weeks. Just yesterday or day before yesterday, the foreign minister of Australia, while talking to her American counterpart, mentioned that we have an important relationship with China and with the US, and we don't agree on everything. We will have differences, but what we will do is we'll follow national interests and we will build on convergences wherever required. So by that yardstick, that is what India's policy also, and that is what External Affairs Minister said recently. So I think that we have done reasonably well. At critical moments, we have seen the requisite international support. But if you ask me, we are perfect. I said it at the opening, made my opening remarks, that there's always scope for improvement.
Right. Air Marshal Matheswaran, I want to talk about India and France synergies in the defense and security space, because France has actually emerged as a great strategic partner for India. Like our elite National Security Guard forces, they have joint exercises with their French counterparts. We keep going there, they keep coming in, and there has been an unprecedented sort of engagement between the two countries. How do you view that? And now Rafales have come.
Well, firstly, on the defense side, we've had a long-standing relationship with the French defense industry. Starting off from the days of Ouragans, Tufanis as we call them.
Tufanis, yes.
We operated them. Then Mystères, Super Mystères. And of course, the Mirages came later. We've had the engagement on the naval side. We've had French weapons with the army as well. We have extensive, connections with them on space, on the atomic energy. The Indo-French partnership is a very strong strategic partnership. Notwithstanding that, I also have a lot of, France has been sort of a good model for us since independence, because the French were fiercely protective of their strategic autonomy, and we are equally protective of our strategic autonomy. But one thing we failed to learn from the French model is, there is a very fine, research study done on how the French laid down the strategic roadmap post-1945 on developing their defense economy and defense industry. Because for your strategic autonomy and strategic independence, that the French leadership identified that as a vital requirement. And therefore, while they used Marshall Plan and while they used the American support to initially arm their forces, they were very clear that within the next 15, 20 years, they would not only equip all their services with their indigenous weapon systems, but they will also be exporters, because that is part of their vital economy issue. And sure enough, by 1960s, the French were exporting arms to 100 countries. And today, the French are not dependent for any critical technology on anybody else in the world. It's another matter that they are NATO partners. They have a very close relation with the US. They have a lot of relationships with other countries. They do joint ventures, but they are very clear on that area. So this is our strategic partnership should be able to actually guide us in learning a lot from this process. That is one part. Other than that is the weapon systems and the quality of weapon systems are of a high order. So I think, the Rafale will bring like every new weapon system that the Air Force was brought in, we were largely dominated by, basically a MiG-21. In my early years, I flew the MiG-21s extensively. Then I switched to the Jaguars. The Jaguar, when it arrived in 1979, it brought in a cultural change in the way we approached, offensive operations and strike operations. Similarly, when the Mirages came in 85 and the MiG-29s came in 86, it changed the dimension of air defense operations in the Indian Air Force, right? And then Su-30s came in, early 2000s. That brings in some. So every new aircraft brings in a new generation of technology. The Rafale is a 4.5 generation of technology, brings with real state-of-the-art technical capabilities, and that brings in a very strong, cultural change in the way the Air Force operates and the military operation strategies are worked out. So the engagement, while we have Air Force to Air Force engagements, while we do a lot of exercises with the French, the Garuda is a regular exercise that we do. And of course, even with the Navy, there is a fair amount of engagement. The strategic partnership stands on a very, very strong foundation, not just on military to military, as Ambassador will vouch for it, more on real strategic issues, which goes beyond the military connections and goes into the domains of political connections, political partnerships, and nuclear as well as space and other industrial partnerships. So I think we have a very, very strong connection here.
Yeah. Right. Ambassador Prakash, India-France relationship.
Well, it is, I think, one of our most significant relationships, and I have only seen it grow. France, like Russia, has stood by us in the hour of need. I was in Tokyo, and I need to recall that because I was in Tokyo when we went nuclear, and I remember how Hashimoto threatened to take India to the UN Security Council. Country after country had difficulties with us. We had, there were sanctions being imposed. Even Australia said that they used to offer some assistance of $2.4 million or something. They withdrew it. But there was one country which was willing to listen to us. And we all recall the famous strategic dialogue between Mr. Brijesh Mishra and his counterpart. And the rest, as they say, is history. I've sat in meetings between summit meetings between India and France, and their interest in India, the level of confidence that we have with each other. I would say that we have a broad convergence of interests has been unparalleled, and even for our quest for we have their unequivocal support for our membership of the UN Security Council and other organizations, international organizations that we join. We want to join or have we joined. So I think that this is one of the big success stories of India's foreign policy. But it is not just a one-way street, just as France is important to us. I mean, France also appreciates India's importance. France, in some ways, is an Indo-Pacific country. And, there is some talk, although it is yet to fructify, for example, to see whether France can become a part of Quad Plus and in different forums also. So I, for one, think that France is a factor for enhancing the security, peace and prosperity, stability in the Indo-Pacific region. And I, for one, welcome the advances that have been made in India-France strategic relationship.
Right. Now, Marshal Matheswaran, I want to talk to you about the timing of this delivery and how crucial it is, in the wake of what happened in Galwan and the simmering tensions between India and China. If we talk about their top-line aircraft, the Chengdu J-20s, how does India get this shot in the arm, or are we getting a little more ambitious at the moment?
Well, firstly, let me put certain things in a proper realistic perspective. We've just got 5 aircraft. And it takes, with five, we can't just, say that we've now got a huge capability where we can take on, everybody. No, it adds the shot in the arm in terms of what it brings on the table, in terms of its radar capability. It's an ISA radar with the BBM missile capability, but five is five. Okay, so we need to wait till the squadron builds up, and when two squadrons are there, that's a significant, add-on into the capability. That is one issue. Second is, for the first time, we've now decided to actually employ air power in a significant measure, and which is what we should have done all along against the Chinese side. But of course, again, the Air Force is 12 squadrons less than its optimal number. And the issue of, although it's a remote possibility, in my opinion, a two-front war cannot be discounted. Given the strategic partnership between China and Pakistan and the way, things materialize. So we should guard against that as well. But the comparing with the PLAF or the Chinese Air Force and us, our objective is to ensure that the Chinese side do not resort to any misadventures across the LAC, and that is our main objective. We're not interested in going across and bombing Lhasa or doing anything across on the other side, but we want to deter the Chinese. To that extent, this will add a significant shot in the arm, and we have enough capabilities to do that. On the other hand, the Chinese Air Force will modernize significantly. They bring in a lot of weight in their capabilities through their J-10s, J-11s, J-20s, their S-300s, S-400s. They have, the Chinese aerospace industry and aerospace capability is a lesson to be studied as well in terms of strategic development. And therefore, as long as we are able to deter them, because most of their airfields on their side are a high altitude, despite these advanced aircraft, it brings a limitation on them. Most of their support systems are quite far into the interior, so it's not easy for them to sustain if they want to take on an offensive. And at the end of the day, I don't think neither, of course not from our side, but China itself would not want to get involved in a huge, conflict which can escalate into a war. It is not good for them. It will actually sidetrack their global ambitions completely. So to that extent, I think as long as we focus on deterring China, we have enough wherewithal to do that with the additions that are coming in. But that's a continuous process. The way we need to do that is a continuous process.
Ambassador Prakash, now, Air Marshal has talked about, how strategically speaking, where we stand vis-a-vis China. But do you think that upgrading, and this is a very visible and conspicuous upgrading of our strategic capabilities, our military capabilities, do you think that they are also symbolic in nature?
Very pertinent question. But before that, I would like to compliment Air Marshal Matheswaran for his very sober assessment, measured assessment of the situation. I, like you and Air Marshal Matheswaran, I'm very proud of the valor of our forces. I'm a very proud national citizen of India. But although at the same time, we have to have a bit of realism. Now, some sections of our academia and media are going to town saying it's a game changer, that 5 Rafales have landed, etc., etc. Now, I'm not very sure whether we are slightly overdoing it. They're far from being inducted. The entire ecosystem has to be created. It will take time. But also, there is what are we doing? We are trying to plug a gap. And we are still far away from plugging the gap, because even the authorized squadrons, we are still deficient. And also, it pains me to say that what we have is not our own technology, but borrowed technology. I think we should hold our celebrations, and we will celebrate the day when we can make our own Rafales. We can produce our own fighter aircrafts. That is the day we should be celebrating. At the moment, what we should be doing is what we are doing to basically send a message to China that we have always sought to find a modus vivendi, that we are determined to safeguard our territory. We'll do everything possible, and we have shown that we have done that. But look, my dear friend, it's not business as usual. And we have managed to have that sentiment echoed by practically every major nation in the world. And look at how the US has reacted. I'm not saying it's at our prompting only, but everybody has understood the real face of China. I mean, I don't understand whether it is naivety or it is audacity when the worthy foreign minister of China says that it is not in our DNA to pick up fights. I mean, I rest my case. If that is not in their DNA, then whose is? Nobody seems to be knowing. But the way US has reacted, for example, the Secretary of State, for the first time turns around and says, look, Mr. China, what you're doing in South China Sea is illegal, and we will not allow that to happen. So that, I think, is the most important outcome of what has happened, that not only India has demonstrated its determination and ability of safeguarding her borders, but also inflicting a cost on China, that is the economic cost that we are inflicting, and much more to come. But also there is now a coalition of the willing. There is a growing consensus in the Committee of Nations that China is a rogue state, it's a bully, and you have to push it back. Nishtha?
Right. I'm so glad that both of you have actually espoused the idea that we need to be a little cautious about tom-tomming our acquisition, and there is a sobering strain in there, and we need to be prepared to ramp up our own indigenous capabilities. But here is a very interesting development. Yesterday, there was a total media gag announcement that nobody is allowed to film or to live broadcast the whatever happens in Ambala, and Section 144 is imposed there. It's very interesting, when the jets took off from France, and when they had a little break in Dubai, we were getting minute by minute information, and our coverage was all full of Rafale. But now they are landing, and they may have already landed on Sarzameen-e-Hindustan. There is absolutely, there's a blackout of sorts. So how do you view that? To me, allow me to say this, it just suggests a very
Hello.
I think there's something wrong with the signal.
Yeah, somewhere.
Would you like to take up the question, Air Marshal Matheswaran, so that we can?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My network just got a little unstable.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just saying that once the jets are there with us in India on our as we say Sarzameen-e-Hindustan, there is a complete blackout, and to me it suggests a bifurcated psyche of our opinion makers and leaders and policy makers, that we can't really seem to make up our minds which way we have to go.
I mean, you correctly put, there is a sort of, it's a culture, it's a kind of a hangover from the British colonial days and the way we look at security. This has happened, this is not new. When the Jaguars came in 1979, quite a similar high cordon security, even from I remember we deployed in Ambala for an exercise from another squadron. We were not allowed to go near the hangar where the 3 Jaguars were kept, the first 3 Jaguars were kept. We go crazy actually in this. When the Mirages landed in Gwalior, similar setup was there. When the Su-30s came, a similar setup was there. So we need to look at it because, and this is what causes also the kind of civil military, issues, is that people need to know, that's one, but there is a methodology by which you disseminate that is there. But at the same time, here's an aircraft that's arriving. You need a certain control, acceptance, control access to people who can actually disseminate the information, and that the government can take a decision. But the problem is, and as the ambassador said, our media is also to blame. They go overboard. They, go to any extent to actually put across the news in a way which is, I would say, which is a hyper way of putting things, not in a realistic way. So I think as a country, we have to evolve. We can't blame anyone. I think it's a legacy of many cultural practices that have actually evolved over the years. And I think we need to address this problem. It's a problem. You're right. When the aircraft takes off from France or from Dubai or from anywhere else, everybody knows. Or when we put our own civilians not being able to get some kind of an understanding of what military is, here today in Google Maps, you can go and see everything that you want.
Absolutely.
So I think we need to address this problem. It's a serious problem, in my opinion. I think probably Ambassador can cover that part. Yes. Yes, Nishita.
Ambassador Prakash, do you have to say anything to that?
No, I'm happy to completely endorse his views. The fact we all know is that even for declassification of our records, historical records, we are one of the very few democratic countries, and emphasis on democracy, which are very reticent in opening up the records. So, well, as they say, we are like that only. I mean, that's the only thing I can say.
Right. All right. If both of you are comfortable, and this request from me may come as a surprise, can we do a summary of sorts in Hindi if both of you are comfortable? Marshal Matheswaran, would that be all right with you? For our viewers who, yes. So, मैं आप दोनों से ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि जो रफाल फाइटर जेट्स आज हिंदुस्तान पहुँच चुके हैं, उससे हमारी जो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी है, नेशनल सिक्योरिटी कैपेबिलिटी है, उसको कितना बल मिल रहा है? मार्शल माथेश्वरन, मैं आपसे शुरू करना चाहूँगी.
Okay, let me first caution you. My Hindi is not too good, but
that is shocking, Air Marshal. I mean, being a South Indian, your Hindi should be perfect.
Okay, you can see that. Okay, अगर नेशनल सिक्योरिटी के कॉन्सेप्ट से बात करेंगे तो ये रफाल इंडक्शन certainly बहुत स्ट्रेंथ ऐड कर एयरफोर्स के लिए दे देती है, और फोर्स स्ट्रक्चर में इसका इंडक्शन बहुत वैल्यूबल है. लेकिन हम ये याद करने चाहिए कि ये कंटिन्यूस प्रोसेस है. ओवरनाइट ये स्ट्रेंथ बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं हो जाती है. इसका ट्रेनिंग है, इसका इंडक्शन है, इसका फोर्स स्ट्रक्चर बिल्ड होता है, साइमल्टेनियसली बाकी पुराने जगह फेस आउट हो जाती है. इसीलिए हम इसका कंटिन्यूटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्ट्रेटेजिक कंटिन्यूटी हम बनाना पड़ता है. सो दो स्क्वाड्रन्स, अभी जो 12 स्क्वाड्रन्स कम है एयरफोर्स के स्ट्रेंथ में, 2 स्क्वाड्रन इसका नया टेक्नोलॉजी है, वेरी एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी है. इसका 2 स्क्वाड्रन पुराना 4 स्क्वाड्रन का कैपेबिलिटीज फिल कर सकते हैं, लेकिन हमें जो चाहिए वो 42 स्क्वाड्रन स्ट्रेंथ चाहिए, जो मीनिंगफुल ऑब्जेक्टिव्स, मीनिंगफुल डिफेंस के लिए 42 स्क्वाड्रन स्ट्रेंथ चाहिए. इसलिए हम देखना पड़ेगा कि ये शॉर्टफॉल कैसे हम भर सकते हैं. ये 2 स्क्वाड्रन के बाद क्या कर सकते हैं हम. तेजस एक लेवल में है, ये MMRCA दूसरा लेवल है, ये एप्पल्स ऑरेंजेस कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते हैं. Su-30 एक लेवल में है, Su-30 300 एयरक्राफ्ट है, उसका रोल अलग है. और अगर MMRCA और चाहिए तो इसका डिसीजन हम लेना पड़ेगा. 2 स्क्वाड्रन जरूर एडिशनल स्ट्रेंथ देता है, लेकिन ये सफिशिएंट नहीं है मुझे, मेरे अंडरस्टैंडिंग में।
एम्बेसडर प्रकाश, क्या आपको लगता है कि जो हम एक तरीके से ढोल नगाड़े बजा रहे हैं कि हमने 5 रफाल ले लिए हैं और अब वो हिंदुस्तान पहुंच भी चुके हैं शायद, तो ये एक थोड़ा एक प्री मैच्योर एक सेलिब्रेशन है हमारी, क्योंकि हम अभी ये बात कहना चाह रहे हैं एक इंडिया चाइना रिलेशनशिप को मद्देनजर रखते हुए।
आपने बिल्कुल ठीक टिप्पणी की है, पर अगर मैं 1 मिनट इसका से हट के बात करूं और मैं दोबारा इस मुद्दे पे आऊंगा। सबसे पहले तो मैं सरकार को, प्रधानमंत्री जी को और देश को बधाई देना चाहता हूं कि एक जो बहुत जरूरत की एयरक्राफ्ट थे, राफेल की, हमको बहुत सालों से इंतजार थी। सन 2000 में इसके ऊपर बातचीत शुरू हुई थी। जैसा एयर मार्शल ने कहा, हमारे पास जहाजों की कमी है, और अगर सुरक्षा स्थिति देखें तो भारत की सुरक्षा स्थिति हमारी हमारी ज्योग्राफी या भूगोल के हिसाब से देखा जाए तो हमारी सुरक्षा स्थिति बहुत डेलिकेट है, चैलेंजिंग है। तो हमारे लिए बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है कि जो प्लेटफॉर्म, जो हथियार, जो एयरक्राफ्ट की जरूरत हो वो मिलता रहे। तो राफेल एक बहुत एडवांस्ड एयरक्राफ्ट है, और ये 36 एयरक्राफ्ट आएंगे, पहले 5 आ रहे हैं, और इस सरकार ने बड़ी तेजी से इस पे काम किया है, तो ये एक बहुत अच्छी बात है। कमी है, पर कमी की शुरुआत करने के लिए कुछ कदम उठाने पड़ते हैं, और ये बहुत बड़े कदम उठाए गए हैं। जहां तक रही राफेल की बात चीन के संदर्भ में, मुझे लगता है कि ये थोड़ा सा हम लोग और कुछ लोग, कुछ मीडिया में, कुछ बाहर भी थोड़ा ज्यादा कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि अभी तो सिर्फ 5 एयरक्राफ्ट आए हैं और 2 साल लगेंगे धीरे धीरे आने में। हर एक एयरक्राफ्ट का एक स्क्वाड्रन होता है, उसके लिए पूरी फैसिलिटीज डेवलप करनी पड़ती हैं, पूरी टीम चाहिए उसकी इंजीनियरिंग के लिए, उसके स्पेयर्स के लिए, उसके मेंटेनेंस के लिए, उसकी ट्रेनिंग के लिए, तो वो उस पे टाइम लगता है। पर वो ये एक प्रोसेस है, जैसे एयर मार्शल ने कहा, और ये प्रोसेस होता रहेगा। मैं ये उम्मीद करता हूं कि जो इस सरकार में जो एक मैंने देखा है कि उनका लक्ष्य है या उनका उद्देश्य है कि हमको कुछ करना है, हमको बातें नहीं करना, बातों से आगे बढ़ना है, तो उसके सिलसिले में हम लोग परिवर्तन कर पाएंगे। हम अपने जो जरूरत का सामान है खुद बना पाएंगे, और हमारी जो जरूरतें हैं उसको पूरा कर पाएंगे, क्योंकि ये एक देश के प्रति सरकार का और हम जो सिटीजन है देश के, उनका कर्तव्य है।
जी, एयर मार्शल मातेश्वरन, मैं दूसरी एक चीज आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि इस लड़ाकू जहाज को भारत पहुंचने में 20 साल लग गए, तो ऐसा क्या हम गलत कर रहे हैं जिससे कि हमारी जो बेसिक नेसेसिटीज हैं सिक्योरिटी के संदर्भ में, नेशनल सिक्योरिटी के संदर्भ में, उनमें भी इतना वक्त लग जाता है? हमारी क्या प्रायोरिटीज हम ठीक नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, या ऐसे क्या चीजें हैं? ना तो हम बाहर से सामान ले पाते हैं, खरीद पाते हैं, ना ही हम अपने यहाँ डेवलप कर पाते हैं टाइम पर।
ये एक्विजिशन procedure, in my opinion, जो गवर्नमेंट में लीगैलिटीज देखते हैं, ट्रांसपेरेंसी देखते हैं, CVG और CAG वगैरह, इनका इन्फ्लुएंस और इनका ओपिनियंस बहुत गवर्न करता है एनी प्रोसीजर में, पर्टिकुलरली डिफेंस एक्विजिशन में, और ये एक इम्पोर्टेंट रीजन है। दूसरा ऑफ कोर्स प्रोसीजर इतना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड हम किए हैं, और सिलेक्शन, डेवलपमेंट, द फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस वगैरह, जो प्रोक्योरमेंट जो भी बहुत एफिशिएंट है, वो 5 साल से 8 साल के कम नहीं कर सकते हैं। देयर आर बहुत सारे प्रोक्योरमेंट्स, बीट एडवांस जेट ट्रेनर है, ये MMRCA है, ये एयर टू एयर रिफ्यूलर अभी भी नहीं हुआ है, ये सब एवरेज 20 साल हो गया, सब प्रोक्योरमेंट। इसका प्रॉब्लम, मेन प्रॉब्लम इज डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री स्ट्रैटेजी एंड नेशनल स्ट्रैटेजी होना चाहिए। नेशनल स्ट्रैटेजी में आर्म फोर्सेस मिलिट्री का कॉम्बैट के पार के लिए अभी वेपन्स चाहिए, वो इंपोर्ट जरूर होगा जब हमारे पास वो टेक्नोलॉजी और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग नहीं है। लेकिन पैरेलली जो चाहिए वो लाइसेंस प्रोडक्शन, टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपमेंट वगैरह, वो स्ट्रैटेजी कंटिन्यूटी होनी चाहिए। DRDO है, लेकिन और इंडस्ट्री, हमारा पॉलिसी रॉन्ग था। पहले सिर्फ पब्लिक सेक्टर यूनिट्स कर सकते हैं, प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैन कर दिए 50s से 90s तक। और सो ये सारे फैक्टर्स मिला के हमारा प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसीजर हेवीली डिपेंडेंट ऑन इंपोर्ट्स। और जब इंपोर्ट से डिपेंडेंट है, पॉलिटिकल इश्यूज, जो इश्यूज ऑफ ट्रांसपेरेंसी वगैरह, ये सब गवर्न करके हर प्रोक्योरमेंट बहुत लंबा ड्रॉन आउट हो गया है। इसीलिए ये एक्विजिशन पॉलिसी बहुत, इसको हम देखना पड़ेगा फिर से, और नेशनल स्ट्रैटेजी से मिला के फार एफिशिएंट, बेटर, मोर एफिशिएंट करेंगे तो वो बेटर रहेगा। ये मेजर प्रॉब्लम है, हमारा एक्विजिशन मेजर प्रॉब्लम है।
जी, एम्बेसडर प्रकाश कहिए।
जी, मैं बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ। सिर्फ 2 चीजें और उसमें मैं जोड़ना चाहता हूँ। एक तो हम बहुत शक करते हैं और राजनीतिक खेल में लिपटा लेते हैं हर एक चीज को। इस पे मैं थोड़ा सा बात करना चाहूंगा, पर उससे पहले दूसरा जो हमारी समस्या है कि क्योंकि कई बीच में मिडलमैन हुआ करते थे, कोई किसी देश को रिप्रेजेंट करता था, कोई किसी देश को करता था, तो वो और भी मुश्किलातें करते थे। कोई झूठी सच्ची शिकायत कर देता था, कोई और अड़चन डाल देता था, और वो किस सिलसिला दोबारा से शुरू हो जाता था। अब देखें, रफाल की बात देखें, पिछली सरकार के टाइम में ये इसकी बातचीत शुरू हुई 2000 में। 15 साल तकरीबन वो सरकार थी, या 10 साल सरकार थी, और जब दूसरी सरकार मोदी सरकार आई तो इन्होंने रफाल का जो समझौता किया था उसको अपग्रेड किया, उसमें कुछ नई चीजें ऐड करवाई, क्योंकि ताकि हमारी, जैसे एयर मार्शल भी कह रहे थे कि अब 30-40 साल हमको इस्तेमाल करना है, तो उसको और जो हमारी जरूरत है उसके हिसाब से किया। तो एक बिना बात का विवाद खड़ा हो गया कि देखिए साहब, बेसिक प्राइस रफाल की मान लीजिए 100 है, और उसमें ये आपने चीजें ऐड की हैं तो 105 हो गया, आप 110 क्यों दे रहे हो? और जानते हुए भी कि ये रफाल कोई बनिए की दुकान नहीं है कि आपने 1 किलो ये चीज लिया, 2 किलो ये लिया, 1.5 किलो ये लिया तो सबको तोल के और इतना बन गया। आखिरकार जब आप चेंज करते हो तो सिर्फ जो आप कंपोनेंट ऐड करते हो उसकी कीमत नहीं है, पूरे चेंज की कीमत है। पूरे जो उसका लेआउट है चेंज करना पड़ता है, सर्किटरी चेंज करनी पड़ती है, बैलेंसिंग एक बहुत बड़ी चीज होती है। पर सब जानते हुए भी सिर्फ इसलिए कि ये राजनीति है, देश की रिक्वायरमेंट्स को भूल के हम एक दूसरे को नीचे खींचने लग जाते हैं। तो मेरा कहना ये है कि हमको अपनी देश का पहले ख्याल रखना चाहिए, और राजनीति जरूरी है, पर जब देश का हित जहां हो वहां राजनीति को बीच में लाना कहां तक ठीक है वो लोगों पे छोड़ता हूं, ताकि भारत के जो वोटर्स हैं, भारत के जो सिटीजन्स हैं, वो इस बात का जवाब दे सके।
ये आप दोनों ने ही एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात बोली है, ट्रांसपेरेंसी की, और लोगों को चीजें पता होनी चाहिए। एक बहुत कमाल की बात जो हुई है इस पूरे की रफाल जो अब इनका जो गृह प्रवेश हो रहा है अंबाला में, उसमें कहते हैं ना कि वो दुल्हन अपने मायके से जब ससुराल में आती है तो बड़ा मतलब गाजे बाजे के साथ आती है। तो वो जो गाजे बाजे थे वो हमें जब वो फ्रांस से चले रफाल तब भी हमें काफी सुनाई दिए और दिखाई दिए, दुबई में जब उन्होंने ब्रेक लिया तब भी हमें काफी सुनाई दिए, लेकिन दुल्हन का जब अब गृह प्रवेश हो रहा है तो हमें पता ही नहीं है। वो मुंह दिखाई हमें पता नहीं कब मिलेगी अब।
पर वो भी है ना कि दुल्हन पर्दे में कई बार होती है और मुंह दिखाई होती है, तो इसमें इतनी जल्दी भी क्या है?
I'm only talking about, जो मेरी बात है वो ये है कि एक ट्रांसपेरेंसी की, कि हमने मतलब गैग कर दिया कि कोई तस्वीरें नहीं आएंगी, कोई लाइव रिकॉर्डिंग नहीं आएगी। तो एक ये थोड़ा ना पूरा माहौल में आपने क्योंकि शक की बात करी कि ना हम अपने ही लोगों पर बहुत शक करते हैं, तो क्या ये जायज है ये कहना कि मीडिया कर दीजिए और हम नहीं चाहते कि कोई भी कवरेज, लाइव कवरेज आए, और जबकि इतना एक्साइटमेंट, इतना उत्साह पूरे देश में है, चाहे भले ही आप ज्यादा है और एग्जैजरेटेड है, लेकिन उत्साह है। और लोग चाहते हैं कि जब अंबाला पे छुए रफाल तो हम कम से कम देख तो पाए उसे कि आखिर ये क्या चीज है जिसने राजनीति में इतना लंबा चौड़ा एक विवाद शुरू किया, इतना रंग लाया उसमें, तो आखिर ये चीज क्या है?
आपकी बात बिल्कुल जायज है, पर मेरे पास इसका जवाब नहीं है सच में। ना ही मुझे समझ आता है कि क्यों, मुझे नहीं समझ आता, पर क्योंकि ये निश्चय किया है तो कोई कारण होगा। पर एयर मार्शल मथेश्वरन से पूछते हैं, शायद उनके पास कोई इसका जवाब हो। कम से कम मेरे पास इसका कोई जवाब नहीं है।
No, I don't have any answer. Absolutely. मेरे पास इसके ये मैंने जब पहले ही बोला है, I mean, certain cultural traditions के वैसे हम ऐसे है, but I'm sure the government, उनके पास बहुत reasons होगा क्यों ऐसे conditions apply किए हैं. So I think we leave it at that because we can't do anything. I have no real, answers to this.
राइट। मेरा आखिरी सवाल है आप दोनों से,
Oh, again.
फ्रांस और भारत का एक रिलेशनशिप देखें।
Nishta, you'll have to repeat the statement.
Okay.
Your voice was cut.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. या जो मैं चाहती हूँ पूछना कि भारत और फ्रांस के जो रिश्ते हैं, चाहे भले ही वो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी या बाकी चीजों से जुड़े हुए हों या कल्चरल रिलेशनशिप हो, आपको क्या लगता है कि इस एक बहुत ही हाईली पब्लिसाइज्ड एक एक्विजिशन है, वो इन रिश्तों को किस दिशा में ले जाता है?
Well, I think Ambassador, you want to talk?
No, please go ahead. Take a stab at it.
आप पहले बोलिए, फिर मैं एम्बेसडर प्रकाश के पास में बाद में जाती हूँ।
ये पहले हम रिकग्नाइज करना चाहिए, अभी बहुत सारा मीडिया ग्लेयर रफाल के वैसे से है, लेकिन हम अंडरस्टैंड करना चाहिए कि फ्रांस और इंडिया के रिलेशंस और एंगेजमेंट बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग पहले ही चल रहा है। इंडस्ट्रियल पार्टनरशिप, अगर बैंगलोर जाएंगे तो बहुत सारे पीपल को मालूम नहीं है अभी तक, लेकिन देयर आर मेनी गुड इंडस्ट्रीज व्हिच आर वर्किंग टुगेदर। अगर साफरान है, दासो है, नेवल इंजीनियरिंग, एप्लीकेशंस, बहुत सारा कंपनीज इन्वॉल्व है और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग भी हो रहा है सर्टेन एरियाज में। मैं पहले भी बताया, चेन्नई का, मद्रास का कल्पाकम फास्ट ब्रीडर रिएक्टर फ्रेंच कोऑपरेशन है। इसरो में कोऑपरेशन बहुत कितने डिकेड से चल रहा है, ठीक है। इसलिए और एंगेजमेंट और इंटरेक्शन, ट्रेड और इंडस्ट्रियल पार्टनरशिप फ्रांस के साथ अच्छी तरह से चल रहा है। ये हम समझने चाहिए। हाई टेक्नोलॉजी एरिया में कुछ काम हो रहा है, बहुत काम हो रहा है, मैं ऐसे बोल सकता हूँ। और इसका विजिबिलिटी need not be there because it is need to know policy. There is a requirement to keep things, where in research institutions or academic institutions or research institutions or industries, cooperate कर रहे हैं और अच्छी तरह से काम हो रहा है। इसीलिए I think रफाल is एक demonstration है जिसका इंडो फ्रेंच पार्टनरशिप बड़ी अच्छी तरह से चल रहा है। रफाल इसका डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन है। Yes,
right. Ambassador Prakash.
पहले तो मैं सहमत हूँ एयर मार्शल से जो उन्होंने कहा। दूसरा, हमारे जो रिश्ते हैं उस पर टिप्पणी करने से पहले हम एक नजर फ्रांस की तरफ की ओर देखें, फ्रांस दुनिया का एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण देश है। ये एक शक्ति है। ये संयुक्त राष्ट्र महासभा सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल का सदस्य है, हाई टेक्नोलॉजी पावर है, डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमी है, और इस फ्रांस ने की जो फॉरेन पॉलिसी है कुछ कुछ हमारे जैसी है कि ये भी ऑटोनॉमी चाहते हैं डिसीजन मेकिंग में, और ये एक किरदार निभाना चाहते हैं दुनिया में अमन शांति और डेवलपमेंट के लिए। तो हमारे रिश्ते बहुत सालों से बड़े सुदृढ़ हैं, पर एक बहुत बड़ा मुकाम आया 1998 में जब हमने परमाणु विस्फोट किया, और उस वक्त जो हमारा स्ट्रेटेजिक डायलॉग हुआ फ्रांस के साथ वो अद्भुत था। और उसके बाद बहुत बड़ा फर्क पड़ा, क्योंकि फ्रांस ने हमको सपोर्ट करना शुरू किया। सबसे पहले एक बड़ी शक्ति थी जिसने हमको सपोर्ट करना शुरू किया, और धीरे धीरे सब सपोर्ट करने लगे। और आपको याद होगा कि अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति बिल क्लिंटन भारत का दौरा करने के लिए 5 दिनों के लिए मार्च 2000 में आए थे। तो उसके बाद जैसे कहते हैं कि पीछे मुड़ के नहीं देखा है दोनों देशों ने। हमने जो डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट है, सिक्योरिटी कोऑपरेशन में, बाहरी स्पेस में, यानी कि स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी में, हाईटेक टेक्नोलॉजी में हम लोगों ने इकट्ठे काम किया है और कर रहे हैं। फ्रांस के राष्ट्रपति हमारे मुख्य गेस्ट थे, अतिथि थे, शायद 2016 में, जहां तक मुझे याद है, हमारे रिपब्लिक डे सेलिब्रेशंस में। और हमारे प्रधानमंत्री भी उनके सेलिब्रेशन में पार्टिसिपेट किए हैं। जब उनका G8 की मीटिंग थी पिछले साल, शायद पिछले साल थी 2019 में, तो उन्होंने भारत को आमंत्रित किया था। तो हर तरह से देखें, राजनीति पहलू से, डिफेंस से, इकोनॉमी से, एनर्जी से के पहलू से, हर तरह से फ्रांस हमारे लिए एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण देश है। और इसी तरह फ्रांस भारत का महत्व जानता है। फ्रांस जानता है कि भारत बड़ी तेजी से उभरता राष्ट्र है, और अगले 10, 20, 30, 40 साल में भारत और फ्रांस के बीच में रिश्ते और सुदृढ़ होंगे, इसमें मुझे कोई शक नहीं।
जहाँ पे क्योंकि एक भारत और चीन के रिश्तों के बिना हम पे बात किए बिना हम किसी भी डिस्कशन को खत्म नहीं कर सकते हैं है अभी। तो क्या आपको लगता है आप दोनों को कि एक जो फ्रांस के साथ में हमारी जो एक साझेदारी है वो एक हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ा संबल हमें देता है और हमें मजबूती प्रदान कर रहा है कि हम चाइना के अग्रेशन को, चाहे वो लैंड एंड एयर अग्रेशन हो या फिर सी अग्रेशन हो, उसको हम चेक कर सकते हैं?
वेल सर्टनली हमारा अप्रोच ये होना चाहिए कि चाइना का 1993 में जो एग्रीमेंट हुआ है, दोनों देश के लीडर्स ये डिसाइड किया है बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट को हम कोल्ड स्टोरेज में लगाएंगे और बाकी डेवलपमेंट, ट्रेड और अदर कोऑपरेशन डेवलप करेंगे। वो ठीक है, लेकिन जब चाइना का बिहेवियर और ट्रस्ट चला गया, ऐसे एग्रेशन हमने देख लिया। अभी हमारा अप्रोच ये होने चाहिए कि जो हमारा डीलिंग्स, बॉर्डर में डीलिंग्स है, वो एग्रेसिव और डिटरेंट पोस्चर में होने चाहिए। उसका ऑल्सो इंटरनेशनल ओपिनियन, अभी जो एम्बेसडर पहले मेंशन किया है, इंटरनेशनल ओपिनियन को मोबिलाइज करके चाइना को ये मैसेज देने चाहिए। जो आपने मेंशन किया, ओवरसीज हमारा जो फैसिलिटीज है अंडमान निकोबार में, और जो हमारा मैरीटाइम कैपेबिलिटीज, मैरीटाइम एरोस्पेस कैपेबिलिटीज, ये स्ट्रांग होने चाहिए। हमारा एक एयर बेस एक्टिवेट किया है तंजावुर में, Su-30 ऑपरेट करे हैं वहां से। ये सब एक्चुअली मिला के हमारा अप्रोच और मैसेज और स्ट्रेटेजिक मैसेज चाइना के लिए जो हम सेंड कर रहे हैं, वो डिटरेंट पोस्चर होना चाहिए। इसके लिए जो जिनके साथ हम पार्टनरशिप होने चाहिए, लाइक क्वाड प्लस फ्रांस आने चाहिए उसमें, ये सब चाइना के लिए अच्छी मैसेज होगा, डिफरेंट मैसेज होगा। साइमल्टेनियसली हम बाकी जोन्स में ट्रेड, कल्चरल एक्सचेंजेस वगैरह चाइना के साथ एंगेज होने चाहिए। ये ब्लॉक करने में वो अच्छा वाला स्ट्रेटजी नहीं होगा, वो फायदा भी नहीं होगा। इसलिए हम एक तरफ एक चैनल पे एंगेजमेंट होना चाहिए, मिलिट्री और डिफेंस चैनल में डिटरेंस पॉजिटिव होना चाहिए। मेरे ओपिनियन में ये काइंड ऑफ दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रेटजी वी नीड टू फॉलो।
जी जी, एम्बेसडर प्रकाश
जी, अगर फ्रांस का देखें, जो हम चीन के संदर्भ में बात कर रहे हैं, तो 2-3 देश हैं जिन्होंने बड़ी खुल के भारत को संदेश भेजा है कि देखिए इस वक्त में हम आपके साथ हैं, और फ्रांस उसमें से एक है। फ्रांस के जो रक्षा मंत्री उन्होंने भारतीय रक्षा मंत्री को संदेश भेजा है कि देखिए हम आपके साथ हैं, हमारे रिसोर्सेज आपके साथ हैं। तो इससे बड़ा संदेश, इतना साफ संदेश बहुत थोड़े देशों ने दिया है, या शायद मैं उंगलियों पे गिन पाऊंगा कि दिया है। तो इससे क्या ये क्या जताता है? देखिए, शांति के समय तो सब दोस्त होते हैं, जब मुश्किल आती है जो आपके साथ चले कदम से कदम मिला के, वो आपका दोस्त है। और उसमें इसलिए मैं बार बार कहता हूं कि फ्रांस ने जिस तरह से भारत को सपोर्ट किया है और भारत ने फ्रांस को किया है, ये एक बहुत बड़ी मिसाल है भारत की फॉरेन पॉलिसी के सक्सेस की। और फ्रांस को इस रीजन में इंटरेस्ट है, बाकी यूरोपीय ताकतों को शायद इतना नहीं है, पर फ्रांस एक इंडो पैसिफिक पावर है, और इनके इंडियन ओशन रीजन में इनके इंटरेस्ट हैं। फ्रैंकोफोन कंट्रीज हैं ईस्टर्न और वेस्टर्न अफ्रीका में जिनके इनके इंटरेस्ट हैं, और ये एक पॉजिटिव रोल अदा कर सकता है और करना चाहता भी है। तो मुझे लगता है कि फ्रांस की सपोर्ट इस समय में, जैसे कि अमेरिका ने की है, कुछ हद तक जापान ने की है, वो हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। और जो संदेश चीन को मिलना चाहिए था कि देखिए आप हर एक के साथ झगड़ा मोल नहीं ले सकते, आप ये नहीं कर सकते कि आप कोई भी नियम कानून समझौते सबको तोड़ दें जब आपकी मर्जी हो, और एक धौंस जमाते रहें, धौंसिए बनते रहें, ये दुनिया को मंजूर नहीं है। वो फ्रांस और अमेरिका और देशों की मदद से वो संदेश शायद ऊपर बीजिंग को मिल गया है।
जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप दोनों का इस मुद्दे पर एक बहुत बेहतरीन तरीके से अपने विचार रखने के लिए और इस चर्चा में भाग लेने के लिए। Thank you very much, Marshal Matheswaran and Ambassador Prakash. Your involvement with this entire thing, I really do not have enough words to thank both of you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with our viewers.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be on the program always with you. You generate a very important and useful discussion, and I'm also very happy to be a co-panelist with Air Marshal Matheswaran.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you, Nishta. I really enjoyed your way of conducting the panel. It was wonderful, and it was a pleasure to be here. This is my first time with you all, and it was a great pleasure to be with Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. It was wonderful interacting with him and sharing the panel with him. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.